My dear brothers and sisters, have you ever raised your hands to Allah and asked for something with all your heart? Perhaps it was a marriage that you desperately wanted. Perhaps it was a job that seemed perfect for you. Perhaps it was healing from an illness, relief from financial hardship, the return of a loved one, or simply peace in your heart after years of struggle. You prayed. You cried. You made dua in the depths of the night. You whispered your hopes between sujud and salam. You begged Allah during Ramadan. You called upon Him on Fridays. You asked Him during tahajjud. You waited. And then nothing happened. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. The door you hoped would open remained closed. The opportunity you wanted slipped away. The answer you expected never arrived. And somewhere deep inside your heart, a question began to form. Ya Allah, why? Not because you stopped believing. Not because you doubted His power. But because you could not understand His timing. You knew Allah could answer your dua instantly. You knew Allah could change your situation in a single moment. You knew Allah could remove every obstacle with one command. After all, He says, be, and it is. So why the delay? Why the waiting? Why the silence? My brothers and sisters, this question has lived in the hearts of believers for centuries. And if you have ever felt this way, then know something important. You are not alone. Even the greatest servants of Allah experienced periods of waiting. Even the prophets knew what it felt like to wait for Allah's decree. Even the most beloved people to Allah endured moments when the answer seemed delayed. Today, let us explore a reality that many people overlook. Sometimes the delay itself is the answer. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually divine preparation. Sometimes what appears to be a closed door is actually Allah protecting you from something you cannot yet see. The problem is that we judge our lives from a limited perspective. We see one page. Allah sees the entire book. We see today. Allah sees every tomorrow. We see the immediate pain. Allah sees the eternal benefit. And that changes everything. Imagine a small child sitting in a doctor's office. The child sees a needle. The child becomes frightened. The child cries and struggles. The child believes the doctor is causing harm. But the parent understands something the child does not. The temporary discomfort is protecting the child's future health. The child sees pain. The parent sees wisdom. Now think about your own life. How many times have you wanted something desperately? How many times have you believed that obtaining a certain thing would finally make you happy? Yet later, you discovered that not receiving it was actually a blessing. Many people can look back and remember a job they desperately wanted. They were devastated when they were rejected. They cried. They questioned Allah's wisdom. Then years later they realized that accepting that job would have led them toward misery, stress, or spiritual harm. Others wanted a specific relationship. They thought that person was perfect. When it ended, they felt shattered. But later Allah replaced it with something far better. At the moment of rejection, they saw loss. Years later they saw mercy. The challenge is that wisdom often arrives after the event. Understanding usually comes later. During the test itself, all we can see is the pain. And that is why trust becomes essential. Trust is not believing in Allah only when things make sense. Trust is believing in Allah even when nothing makes sense. Anyone can trust when life is easy. Anyone can trust when prayers are immediately answered. Anyone can trust when every door opens. The true test of faith appears when the door remains closed. What do you do then? Do you continue believing? Do you continue praying? Do you continue hoping? Do you continue trusting? Or do you begin allowing disappointment to poison your heart? My dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest misconceptions people have about dua is that they think an unanswered prayer means Allah is ignoring them. Nothing could be further from the truth. Allah hears every whisper. Allah knows every tear. Allah sees every sleepless night. Allah knows the pain you have never told another human being. There is not a single moment of your suffering that escapes His knowledge. Not one. When you sit alone and cry because your heart feels heavy, Allah knows. When anxiety keeps you awake while everyone else is sleeping, Allah knows. When you smile in front of people while secretly carrying a burden, Allah knows. When you wonder whether things will ever improve, Allah knows. He always knows. The question is not whether Allah hears you. The question is whether you trust His wisdom. Because hearing and granting are not the same thing. A loving parent hears every request of their child. But they do not grant every request. Because they know what the child does not know. A child might ask for something harmful. The parent refuses. The child cries. The child becomes upset. But the parent's refusal is actually an act of love. Similarly, Allah's delay is never random. Allah's refusal is never random. Allah's timing is never random. Everything is measured. Everything is deliberate. Everything is wise. Even when we do not understand it. One of the greatest examples of waiting can be found in the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhis salam. Imagine the hardships he endured. Thrown into a well by his own brothers. Separated from his beloved father. Sold into slavery. Wrongfully accused. Imprisoned despite his innocence. Years of suffering. Years of uncertainty. Years of waiting. Imagine if Yusuf alayhis salam judged Allah's plan based on any single moment of his journey. When he was in the well, the situation looked hopeless. When he was sold as a slave, it looked hopeless. When he entered prison, it looked hopeless. But Allah was building something. Every painful chapter was preparing him for a future role he could not yet see. The well led to Egypt. Egypt led to the palace. The palace led to leadership. The leadership led to the fulfillment of Allah's promise. Had any stage been removed, the outcome would have been different. The delay was not abandonment. The delay was preparation. And perhaps that is exactly what is happening in your life right now. Perhaps the chapter you are struggling through is preparing you for something larger than you can imagine. Perhaps the closed door is redirecting you toward a better destination. Perhaps the waiting period is developing qualities within you that could never be developed through comfort. Think about patience. How does patience grow? Not through immediate answers. Patience grows through waiting. Think about trust. How does trust grow? Not through certainty. Trust grows through uncertainty. Think about reliance upon Allah. How does reliance grow? Not when every problem disappears instantly. Reliance grows when you have nowhere else to turn. Sometimes Allah delays what you want because He wants to give you something greater than the thing itself. He wants to give you a stronger heart. He wants to give you deeper faith. He wants to give you greater wisdom. He wants to bring you closer to Him. And these gifts are often more valuable than the thing you are asking for. Many people spend years asking Allah for worldly success. Then hardship arrives. Suddenly they begin praying consistently. They begin reading Quran. They begin making sincere dua. They begin remembering Allah throughout the day. Years later they realize something astonishing. The hardship that brought them closer to Allah was actually one of the greatest blessings of their lives. At first, they wanted comfort. Allah wanted transformation. At first, they wanted immediate relief. Allah wanted lasting growth. At first, they wanted the gift. Allah wanted to strengthen the person receiving the gift. And there is a profound difference between those two things. Sometimes we become so focused on what we want that we forget who we are becoming. Yet Allah sees both. Allah sees the request. And Allah sees the soul making the request. He knows exactly what that soul needs. More importantly, He knows exactly when that soul is ready. Imagine receiving something before you are prepared for it. Many people believe they are ready for blessings that would actually destroy them. Wealth can destroy. Fame can destroy. Power can destroy. Relationships can destroy. Success can destroy. If they arrive before a person is spiritually prepared, that is why timing matters. A blessing received too early can become a test. A blessing received at the right time can become a mercy. Allah knows the difference. And we do not. This is why believers are taught to trust not only Allah's ability but also His timing. Anyone can believe Allah is powerful. The deeper level of faith is believing Allah's timing is perfect. Even when it hurts. Even when it confuses you. Even when tears fill your eyes. Even when every day feels longer than the last. Because faith is not merely believing Allah can answer. Faith is believing Allah knows when to answer. And that is a much harder lesson. Yet it is also one of the most beautiful. Because once you truly understand this reality, your relationship with hardship begins to change. Your waiting begins to change. Your perspective begins to change. You stop viewing delays as punishments. You stop viewing hardships as evidence of rejection. You stop assuming that closed doors mean Allah has abandoned you. Instead, you begin asking a different question. Not, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is Allah teaching me through this? And that question opens an entirely new world of understanding. Because every delay contains lessons. Every hardship contains wisdom. Every test contains opportunities for growth. The believer's challenge is learning how to see them. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes the very thing you think is breaking you is actually the thing Allah is using to build you. The difficulty is that construction rarely feels comfortable. When a building is being strengthened, walls may be broken. Foundations may be dug deeper. Old structures may be removed. To an observer, it may look like destruction. But in reality, it is preparation. And many times, Allah works in a similar way within our lives. We see pieces falling apart. Allah sees something stronger being built. We see a delay. Allah sees preparation. We see loss. Allah sees protection. We see disappointment. Allah sees redirection. And that difference in perspective changes everything. One of the greatest reasons people become exhausted during periods of waiting is because they begin measuring Allah's love through circumstances. When life is easy, they feel loved. When life becomes difficult, they feel forgotten. But the prophets teach us something completely different. The people most loved by Allah were often the people most severely tested. Think about Prophet Ayyub alayhis salam. For years he experienced hardship. His health deteriorated. His wealth disappeared. His circumstances changed dramatically. Yet despite everything, he never abandoned Allah. He never concluded that hardship meant rejection. He never assumed that delay meant Allah no longer cared. Instead, he remained patient. Not because he understood every detail of Allah's plan, but because he trusted the one who created the plan. And that is an important distinction. Many of us are waiting to understand before we trust. But faith often requires trusting before understanding. The explanation may come later. The wisdom may become clear years from now. The reason may reveal itself long after the test has ended. But trust begins today. Trust begins before the answers arrive. Trust begins while the questions still exist. My brothers and sisters, there is another reality that many people overlook. Sometimes Allah delays your dua because He loves hearing your voice. Think about this carefully. How many times have difficulties brought you closer to Allah? How many times have you found yourself making your most sincere duas during moments of hardship? How many times have your tears become more genuine because of a struggle you were facing? When life is easy, people often become distracted. When everything is going well, many people forget to turn to Allah with the same urgency. But hardship has a unique ability. It strips away distractions. It reminds us of our dependence upon Allah. It humbles us. It softens our hearts. It teaches us that no matter how strong we think we are, we ultimately need our Creator. And perhaps that connection is more valuable than the thing you are asking for. Imagine standing before Allah on the Day of Judgment. Imagine discovering that the hardship you hated was actually the reason you developed a deeper relationship with Allah. Imagine learning that if your dua had been answered immediately, you may never have turned to Allah with such sincerity. Imagine realizing that the waiting itself was one of the greatest blessings of your life. Suddenly the entire story changes. What looked like deprivation becomes mercy. What looked like silence becomes guidance. What looked like delay becomes wisdom. My dear brothers and sisters, there is something else we must remember. Allah answers every sincere dua, but not always in the way we expect. Sometimes Allah gives you exactly what you asked for. Sometimes Allah delays it until the perfect time. Sometimes Allah replaces it with something better. And sometimes Allah removes a future hardship because of your dua. Yet because we are focused on one specific outcome, we fail to notice the countless ways Allah is already responding. A person asks Allah for one door to open. That door remains closed. so he assumes nothing happened. Meanwhile, Allah protected him from harm. Allah increased his patience. Allah strengthened his faith. Allah brought him closer to the Quran. Allah purified his heart. Allah elevated his rank. Allah prepared a better opportunity. Allah removed a hidden danger. Allah changed his future in ways he cannot yet see. And still he thinks his dua was unanswered. No, my brothers and sisters. The story is often much bigger than we realize. Allah is working behind the scenes in ways beyond our imagination. While you are worrying, Allah is arranging. While you are waiting, Allah is preparing. While you are crying, Allah is listening. While you are confused, Allah is guiding. And while you are losing hope, Allah is still managing every detail of your life. This is why believers never allow temporary circumstances to define their relationship with Allah. Because circumstances change. Feelings change. Situations change. But Allah remains the same. The Lord who helped you before is still your Lord today. The Lord who answered previous prayers is still listening today. The Lord who opened doors in the past still possesses every key today. Nothing has changed except your ability to see the full picture. And none of us can see the full picture. Only Allah can. There is a beautiful lesson hidden within every delay. The lesson is this. You were never meant to place your trust in outcomes. You were meant to place your trust in Allah. Many people believe their peace will come when they finally receive what they want. But true peace comes before that. True peace comes when you trust Allah regardless of the outcome. When your heart reaches the point where it says, Ya Allah, I still want this. I still hope for this. I still pray for this. But more than all of that, I trust you. That is a powerful level of faith. Because now your peace is no longer dependent upon circumstances. Your peace is connected to Allah. And anything connected to Allah becomes stronger. My brothers and sisters, think about the moments in your life when Allah surprised you. Moments when things seemed impossible. Moments when every door appeared closed. Moments when you could not imagine a solution. Then suddenly Allah created a way. A phone call. An opportunity. A meeting. A change in circumstances. A blessing you never expected. Allah has done this before. And He can do it again. The one who created miracles for the prophets is still the same Allah. The one who parted the sea for Prophet Musa alayhis salam is still the same Allah. The one who rescued Prophet Yunus alayhis salam from darkness is still the same Allah. The one who returned Prophet Yusuf alayhis salam to his father is still the same Allah. The one who healed Prophet Ayyub alayhis salam is still the same Allah. And He remains capable of changing your situation at any moment. Never underestimate what Allah can do in a single day. A situation that seems impossible today can completely transform tomorrow. A hardship that has lasted years can disappear through Allah's command. A prayer that has remained unanswered for a long time can suddenly be accepted. Never lose hope. Never believe that your story is over. As long as Allah has given you another day to live, another chapter can still be written. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters come after the most painful pages. My dear brothers and sisters, perhaps someone listening right now feels exhausted. Perhaps you are tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of praying for the same thing, tired of carrying the same burden. If that is you, remember this. Allah sees your effort. Allah sees your patience. Allah sees your tears. Allah sees the battle you fight inside your heart every day. And none of it is wasted. Not a single tear. Not a single prayer. Not a single moment of patience. Not a single act of trust. Allah records it all. Allah values it all. Allah rewards it all. Even if the results are not visible yet. So continue making dua. Continue praying. Continue trusting. Continue hoping. Continue walking toward Allah. Because every step you take toward Him matters. And remember something beautiful. The delay does not mean Allah has forgotten you. The waiting does not mean Allah has abandoned you. The silence does not mean Allah is ignoring you. Sometimes the delay itself is part of the mercy. Sometimes the waiting itself is part of the blessing. Sometimes the journey itself is part of the answer. And one day, whether in this world or the next, you will finally see what Allah was preparing all along. On that day, every tear will make sense. Every delay will make sense. Every hardship will make sense. Every unanswered question will make sense. And you will realize that Allah's plan was always better than your own. May Allah fill our hearts with trust. May Allah replace our fears with certainty. May Allah replace our worries with peace. May Allah strengthen our faith during times of waiting. May Allah grant us patience when answers are delayed. May Allah bless us with hearts that remain attached to Him in every situation. And may Allah grant us happiness in this world and everlasting success in the hereafter. Ameen. If this reminder touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Perhaps the delay you are experiencing today is not a punishment. Perhaps it is preparation. Perhaps Allah is writing a story more beautiful than anything you could have planned yourself. Trust Him. Keep praying. Keep believing. And never lose hope in the mercy of Allah. Because the one who controls every door is still listening to every prayer. And He never fails His promise.